Hey, this is Matt once again with about 10 videos of the paid request. This time for Vonte. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Links are in the info box, either over there or there, wherever they may be. But this is for the 1995 film Showgirls, which I know has a cult following. Do I think it's one of the worst films ever? Sadly, no, because I've seen so much worse films, and I can see people enjoying this, at least in the that kind of quality of either kind of so weird or bad is entertaining. I will say this: it does have some recognizable people in the cast, whether it be, of course, Elizabeth Berkley, very different from being in Saved by the Bell. Robert Davi, who I've always liked as an actor, he has a role in this. Kyle MacLachlan from The Hidden and the original Dune film definitely has a role in this. Glenn Plummer, he was the guy who Keanu Reeves took his car and speed. Are you insured? Yeah, why? Yeah, why? He has a role in this. And I cannot believe I forgot her name, because I'm bad with names. Which is funny because she's actually one of my favorite parts of the movie. Gina Gershon. I kept wanting to say Gina Carano, but it's not that. Gina Gershon. And it's directed by the director of RoboCop, Total Recall, Paul Verhoeven. And from what I understand, like Joe Eszterhas, Paul Verhoeven, they had worked together on Basic Instinct. And Joe Eszterhas, when he wrote the script, he wanted like a darker, grimier movie, but then Paul Verhoeven wanted a movie that was more over the top. Now, he says in an interview that he didn't want it to be campy, but I'm sitting there going, well, it's so over the top that it would be campy, but he just wanted to be just everything acting wise, which is why it's hard for me to get mad at Elizabeth Berkley knowing that now, like her performance, because Paul Verhoeven told her to act that way. Like, the reason she acts that way is because Paul told her to do it. To be bigger, to be grander, to be purely over the top. It's kind of like Lauren Avedon when he did films like Teen the Tip Boxers, and very briefly through text, well, I should say through comments, because I reviewed that film and he left a nice comment. I asked him a question and he left another reply. This is on my review. I don't even know it's still on there for Teen the Tip Boxers. It says YouTube likes to delete comments randomly, because they're so great for that. But he's like, oh yeah, the directors over there, they like us being more over the top, and we knew it was ridiculous, but they, that's just how they viewed what acting should be. And here that was the case here, apparently. I mean, the story, Elizabeth Berkley, she's hitchhiking to Vegas. She gets picked up by a guy who seems to be okay. She's a little bit off against him, has a switchblade knife. Ultimately, they get to Vegas, wait for me in this casino, but then she realizes too late that he stole her stuff. He's left all alone. Meets this girl who quickly helps her out. And then pretty quickly, like, she gets a job at this kind of lower class show, being a stripper, or as she wants to call herself, a dancer, until ultimately she gets a job there, but then she goes to her friend to be behind the scenes of the bigger limelight, and meets people like Gina Gershon and Kyle MacLachlan, who are kind of an item together. But you see that Kyle MacLachlan starts liking Elizabeth Berkley, and then Berkley and Gina Gershon have this kind of almost like lesbian, but not, or in kind of like butting of heads, but almost like respect, but then kind of butting of heads again. Until ultimately, it's her trying to get into the limelight of this business where sex equals money. Well, actually, more like nudity and that equals money. Because it's less about the set, it's more about showing your body, sexuality equals money, I should say. It's not about prostitution, it's about, dancing, burlesque shows, things of that nature. Now, like I said, it's one of those films that is interesting to watch because you just kind of go, it just, the direction you went in, it just seemed like the wrong way to go for a lot of this. But it has this weird fascination to it where it's a lush production in terms of like the cinematography. When the shows happen, they're grand, they're big, they're big, over the top productions. That honestly probably is how Vegas is nowadays, with these crazy shows and the kooky costumes that seem maybe alien and foreign at the time, but it's probably more common now. Now people watch this go, okay, that looks like a show I went to Vegas last week. Which I've never been to Vegas, so I don't know for certain. But if you look up clips and stuff of Vegas nowadays, it does seem like the way Showgirls presents his shows is kind of how it is now. But, I mean, it's not Elizabeth Berkley's fault because she was told to act this way by Paul Verhoeven, but it's still a horrible and terrible performance. And I do think she was miscast. Because, and this is going to sound mean, and this is going to sound rude, I don't think she's as hot or as pretty as the other characters look at her as. Maybe just different preference. But I'm looking at Gina Gershon, I'm sitting there going, my eyes always going to her. Not because she's given a better performance. She's acting kind of the right sentiment and tone that fits the proceedings. Just visually. Like Elizabeth Berkley, when I see her dance, it looks like more like someone's being electrocuted. Or like having seizures. And like she's looking and trying to be hot and licking the pole. I'm like, shit, I want to run away. I want to get the hell out of Dodge. I don't think she's that pretty of a... And hey, I'm not one to talk. But that's how I can say it, because I know the feeling. If I looked in the mirror, I would say the same way. So I could say it to myself, I could say it to her as well. And then on top... So I don't see how everybody just... Like Kyle MacLachlan, why he leaves Gina Gershon for Elizabeth Berkley. I'm like, that's the most unreal... The most unrealistic part of the movie is that. Him leaving Gina Gershon for Elizabeth Berkley. I'm like, no. And then, again, because Paul Verhoeven told her to act this way, it just... When her stuff gets stolen, it's like her eating french fries and going... Or meets this girl who's, again, they become friends. She's a costume designer of this casino show. And when it sees like one of the stars, Gina Gershon, and Elizabeth Berkley looks at her and goes, "You know shit. Hey, that's my boss. I could get fired. I'm sorry." Just the way she acts. And also some of the dialogue. I kind of see her going, what were they going with this dialogue? Like when Glenn Plummer meets Elizabeth Berkley and they start dancing, he's just saying lines like, "Oh, you teasing my dick." Or, I'm sorry I blanked out there for a minute, but later on, when Elizabeth Berkley's become more successful, and like her old bosses, Robert Davi and this other lady, this older, bigger, like this fatter lady, she has this trick where she does this thing and her boobs pop out, and then they go back in, and they pop out, go back in. Like she's always like spouting off these weird, like tasteless lines that I just did try to get a shock out of the audience in the film, or maybe the audience watching it. But but then they wish her good luck and hey, I'm glad things are going well for you. And then Robert Davi says a line. I had to write this down because I'm like, did I hear what I said? Must be weird, not having anybody come on you. I'm like that has. I don't know if that was meant to be a comedic moment, but then it'd be such a weird comedic moment to have. I guess it was, because I don't know how else you would view it. Must be weird to not have anyone come on you. I'm like, what? Or first I get you used to the money, then I make you swallow. So he seems like the scumbag guy, but then later on, when he wishes her good luck, and then Elizabeth Berkley's looking at Robert Davi as if he was like some surrogate father. I'm like, where did this come from? He like seemed like a scumbag. He seemed like a scumbag that makes people suck him off. But then now we're supposed to think he's like this endearing father figure with just hard outer shell but a soft center. Which I like Robert Davi the actor, but I don't see how one led to the other type of thing. It was as if I don't know stuff got deleted or something. And like some of the scenes just seem the awkward. There's the sexual scenes between Elizabeth Berkley and Kyle MacLachlan, whether it be pretty much makes him have a fandango in his pants while Gina Gershon watches, or when Elizabeth Berkley and Kyle MacLachlan are in a swimming pool. Elizabeth Berkley's like going back and forth in such a wild way. I'm like, is she being electrocuted? Is she dying? It looks like if you electrocuted a dolphin. And I'm like, this is like the least sexy sex scene, or at least top 5 least sexy sex scenes in film history. And one of the reasons is, well, there's a lot of reasons. The way it's acted, the way she's just floundering, as if she's drowning, but she's not. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I don't think she's that pretty of a lady that people are just honed in on her and being just entranced by her. I'm like, why? Why are they so entranced by her? And in Joe Eszterhas, whatever, your strip would not have worked as a gritty film, realistic film anyway. When you have the stuff Robert Davi says and the stuff Glenn Plummer says randomly, man, everybody got A's and shit. He's like, he just replies it, man, everybody got A's and shit. I'm like, what? Or I forget who said this, but there was a line that someone says, she looks better than a 10-inch dick. It might have been the fatter lady that said that. I think she's the one who said it. I'm like, what? And again, you have scenes like Gina Gershon and Elizabeth Berkley talking about their love of doggy chow. And you're sitting there going, so this is being made. People are listening to this dialogue. They're watching this scene. And they said, yep, make it so. Print. How? Like, how do you look at it and go, okay, yeah, there you go. Like, how? How? That just blows my damn mind. It does. It blows my mind. It really does. And that's one of those things I looked at that and I go, this is just ridiculous, man. And it was done by Directorial, and that's why I was looking it up real quick. Which I think, because they were in such financial trouble, they ended up selling the rights to Showgirls and a few other movies to other companies. So I think if you watch it, it's I forget if was it United Artists or someone else at the front of it, but it originally was a Terrical production. But then it started as that, probably because of success of films like Basic Instinct, and but again, they were in such financial trouble even at that time. It's like, well, now we can't finish it, release it, so give it to someone else. Where I guess it was a mistake for the other party to buy Showgirls because it was a big bomb. And then at the time, we got this whole up NC-17 that became the big controversy. And the way they and I think Paul Verhoeven, Gina Gershon, one of them, maybe both of them said this, where the advertisement for Showgirls was about how erotic it is. And I remember one of them said, well, it's actually the most unerotic movie. Like, it's not erotic, and like, this is the opposite. And so I think people, they looked at, the poster and how revealing it is. They thought it was going to be this seduction, sexual, dynamo, lurid fantasies, and then they watch the film, they go, okay, there are breasts in the movie. And to be fair, though, it's not as bad as you would think in terms of, like, there's a lot of breasts, but it's not I don't know how to put it. It's not, penetration, of intercourse. You don't see a whole lot of, like, up close the veg or anything like that. I think people, they watch the film, they go, this is it? I think they were probably disappointed. Like, this was what all the controversy was about? This? And then they see the rest of the film and just how, over the top the shows are, and how over the top the dialogue is, and for the most part the performances. How, again, unsexy some of the scenes are. I think some people got probably either perturbed, or they felt they were fooled, or they felt they were tricked. And, like, again, the reason it's not a raging rant is because I almost commend the gall of them making the film. And honestly, I think they could have gone back in, changed a couple stuff, and it would have been rated R. Like, okay, maybe it cuts a few thrusts in the swimming pool scene, or this and that, and I don't know if it would have made that much of a big difference. Because then when it was NC-17, then they could not get much of a release because certain advertisements will not... They won't do anything with an NC-17 film. And then you think it's going to be this hardcore movie, and then you watch it, go, oh, not really as hardcore as you think it is. So yeah, it does have some lavish production values. Gina Gershon, I wish the film was in her point of view. I really do believe if the movie was from Gina Gershon's point of view instead, because I think she's the better actress. I think she's the prettier lady, and her character is the most interesting. Like, she definitely has a history where she's been in Elizabeth Berkley's shoes before. She even admits that later on, because at one point her character just pushed down the stairs. She's in the hospital. Later on, Elizabeth Berkley apologizes, and she's like, how do you think I got to be the top star? Hey, I'm getting a good payment out of this. At least I get the rest for a bit. Get to be off my feet for a bit. Then they have a kiss, and I'm like, yeah, can we follow Gina Gershon's character? She's like the most interesting person in the movie. Glenn Plummer, he leaves the movie with like 30 minutes left of the film, because like, okay, they're kind of an item but they're not, but then she pretty much says, no, I don't want to be a couple. Well, she says, if you actually love me, then fine, we'll do it. Obviously that wasn't the case, and he got someone else pregnant, but he's going to go back home and help her out and raise the baby. I guess, like, Elizabeth Berkley wishes him good luck, which I don't think the two really had. I don't think it would have worked out between them anyway. Kyle MacLachlan, like I said, he leads Gina Gershon to be with Elizabeth Berkley. And then you have this big tonal shift, which a lot of people mention, where, like, most of the film has been this very rather goofy, over the top, overacted, lavish camp. That's what it turned into, camp. And then all of a sudden, this, I think it was like a rock star, I forget the character's name, Elizabeth Berkley's friend, the costume designer, she's a fan of this musician, but then behind closed doors, she gets assaulted. She gets forcibly screwed. Literally. It becomes like a big tonal shift that doesn't seem like it works with the rest of the movie. So then Elizabeth Berkley wants revenge, goes up, kiss the hell out of that guy, and then she's going to leave. Says goodbye to her, says goodbye to Gina Gershon, hitchhikes to LA this time, but by luck, by fate, finds the same guy that stole her stuff, threatens him, and then the movie's over. So this is one of those films that I've seen a couple times throughout the years. I guess I don't hate it as much as I used to. I think when I first saw this, I outright hated it. Now, it's more of, it's an interesting failure. Number one is because I've seen so much worse films. Like, if I name some of the films I've seen since when I first saw it to now, a Serbian film, Artist Underground Mortem, Fiends, Feeders 2, Alien Beasts, every Neil Breen films, The Wet Ones, Howling 7, New Moon Rising, films like In Our Garden, Treasure Chest of Horrors, The Time Machine at Final Yard Sale, Muti, Fred the Movie, Hip Hop Locos, Sharks of the Corn, Bigfoot vs. D.B. Cooper, Razor Teeth, Pocket Ninjas, The Alien Dead, Kingdom of Var, Hell's Highway, Confessions of a Time Traveler for the Man 3036, hell, the Jacob's Ladder remake, The Amazing Bulk, Trump versus the Illuminati, Veronica with a K, Bigfoot County. It goes on and on. I'm sitting there going, I've seen much worse movies than Showgirls. I appreciate the lavish production. Interesting cast, so to speak. I like Gina Gershon. I think she has that right tone. And you tell from interviews, she knew what the film was, or at least she assumed what the film would be, and she, I thought, had the right way, the right approach, the right cadence. I thought she was the best part of it. Again, that's why I wish the movie was more about her. Elizabeth Berkley gives a very bad performance, but again, look up info. Paul Verhoeven told her that way, so it's his fault. But it's a pretty bad performance. But people can maybe enjoy it, and it's so bad it's good. But it just, and again, I think it was miscasting. I don't think she had the right look, face wise and body wise. I just don't think she's that attractive, that alluring to be this focal point, this beam that people are drawn towards. I just don't see that. Again, there are dialogue, like when she's training for the big show. There's this guy's like, I'm erect. Why you not erect? Get some ice for this girl's nipples. Because I'm erect. Why you not erect? I'm like, what the fuck? So there were moments I watched him going, I'm sure unintentionally, or was it intentionally? I don't know. So I guess I got entertainment with it. To be fair, I don't think it's a good movie, but I did get entertainment out of it, so take that for what you will. But Paul Verhoeven, I mean, I really do like him as a director. I love RoboCop. The original Total Recall is probably it's probably RoboCop Total Recall. I think a lot of people say RoboCop they like better. I love RoboCop. I would probably go with Total Recall though. Hey, 3 titties. But there's more reasons than that. But I do like Starship Troopers. Hollow Man I think is underrated. And sadly, he kind of quit the business after Hollow Man and went back and I guess he's making films in his homeland. That's too bad. I mean, I would like to have seen him make 1 or 2 more movies in the genre. But maybe it's for the best. Because at least I could say of his American films, there's more that I like than dislike. That's the weird thing. Like, Basic Instinct is technically a better movie. I almost want to say Showgirls is more interesting to watch. Just for how, what the fuck. Let's say, like, if you ask me which one I would rather rewatch, I almost want to say Showgirls, at least with, like, a group of friends, and go, what the fuck? Although Basic Instinct is the technically better movie. But yeah. Miss Paul Verhoeven. So even when he makes a film that's kind of a flop, at least it's not a forgettable one. Take that for what you will. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.